I'm Luxcana from Luxury Gaming, and I have a special guest for you guys today. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Chris from New York. I was able to top four this past weekend at the Dallas Challenge, and I'm glad that you guys want to hear about my deck profile.
That's awesome. Did you bring the Mickey?
Unfortunately, I did not. It's sitting on my dresser, but yeah, my company did see the Mickey on Monday, so everybody's been taking posing with it all weekend long.
It is the golden Mickey.
Yes.
It's almost like your golden ticket, like Willy Wonka. How awesome is it that you got a ticket to nationals too?
I am beyond happy. It's just honestly, I've been working really hard in Lorcana, play testing regularly. Play testing regularly previously with online clients, but now I'm glad that my talent's been showcased to the masses.
Exactly. So what colors did you play?
So I played Steel Song. I've never played Steel Song until set 4. I did believe
Wow.
it was in good position. So because I've never played it before, I did come with an open mind, and no previous Steel Song versions, in my opinion, were I guess the gospel. I treated every card, even a card like A Whole New World, they were up for being cut, and it has to be proven to me that it should remain in the deck list. So I do come with a very critical mind, and I believe my unique deck choice is representative of my testing in June.
So I can't wait to see your deck, but I have a question for you. So you said that you just started playing Steel Song in set 4.
Yeah.
But pretty much everybody was playing Emerald Steel. So what made you just start playing Steel Song in set 4?
Yes, so on set 3, I did get 66th place at Atlanta with a deck Amber Amethyst Chernobog Turbo.
That's so amazing.
Yes,
Congratulations.
yeah, so I thought this deck would be able to work set 4. Diablo and Bucky proved otherwise, and my deck was all about dumping everything into my discard pile and play Chernobog for free, and then using Stitch to play out my whole game and drawing out my whole deck. But that didn't work, so I realized Emerald Steel is a real thing. Then I tested every single color combination, every control, aggro, tribal, mid-range. I even had an Emerald Sapphire workshop deck trying. Nothing was working. And then I went to okay, let's go to the try and true decks. So I went with Steel Song, and I felt this is one of the few decks I can play Grab Your Sword to address Bucky. So that's the reason, after hundreds and hundreds of games on online client testing, Steel Song was a deck I felt was best positioned to handle Emerald Steel, as well as address all the other decks in the metagame.
Okay, very cool. So let's see this spicy deck you came up with.
Yes. So typical Robin Hood. So 4 of these. I did play 4 Cindy.
Ooh, very interesting. So I know some people decided to cut the Cinderella because it doesn't really help you against Brawl
Okay.
or the Flynn Rider.
So a few things. First off, I went the aggro approach. So Cindy, I need as many 1-drops as possible. Number 2, it can be shifted to Cindy, shift Cindy, so that will allow me to get some reach, and it's a very hard target to deal with. And then I've heard, again, I come to this deck for the first time ever this set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand where people are questioning the Steel Song versus Ruby Amethyst matchup. This allows me to sing all my 3 color songs, the Strength and A Raging Storm and Fire. So when I see Flynn and everything, I'm like, I play this to get rid of Flynn on turn 2 and then play my 2-drop. So this is where I'm very confused. I'm not a seasoned Steel Song player. I believe I am quite a good Lorcana player. I'm a very good deck builder, but I've never really played Steel Song. I come with open mind. I just never understood why you don't play this card, because most of your songs are 3 and lower, and it influences how your opponent's going to be playing. They cannot commit. You can just get rid of it and just, again, go wide. This deck is all about going wide, and Cindy allows for that to control the board.
So now let's just say you have Robin Hood and Mini Cindy in your hand. Which one are you playing first?
It depends on how many songs I have. If I have Storm or the Raging Fire or Strength, I will. If I have the Raging, I will play Cindy. If I have the Strength, I'll play Robin Hood. Depends if I'm also playing the draw. One thing that's very important. Oh, actually, there's a few other aspects. It depends on how aggressive my hand is as well. What is my turn 2, turn 3, turn 4? whenever I start my game, I'm thinking of what I'm going to be inking turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. What is my board state going to be on turn 3? Because this is a very aggressive deck. So I need to be able to gain 1 or 2 or 3 lore in various turns that most players will not be able to gain, because I'm able to close out games on turn 10, 11, 12 through my reach of Perdita and every other choices. So it really depends also. There is no holy, I guess, rule that you play Robin Hood, you play Cinderella. It's really based on what is turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 going to look like based on what I'm opening, how many songs. So I could say play Cindy, play Robin Hood, but it really depends. I may play Robin Hood just to ensure that, hey, I'm going to be questing a couple times the first early games, and I'll be able to gain 2 lore. But maybe I'll play Cindy because I feel like I'm going to be going to a game where I'm going to have Smee. Maybe turn 3 I'll play Piglet and Robin Hood. So maybe the Strength of Raging Fire will clear out anything, and I'll be able to gain lore. So it really depends. I hate when players ask for mulligan guides or
That's me.
mulligan guides or keys to the matchup. You need to understand the flow of the current game, and that I don't want players to just be so tunnel vision of play Robin, play Cindy. No. Understand your hand. Understand where you're going to be inking the next few turns. That is the key to playing this deck, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, long-winded. It depends. I
like it. No, it's okay. But you did kind of give us a little bit of insight of like with the certain songs that you play with each of the 1-drops, kind of.
Yeah.
So that's where I took from it. Okay, let's get started.
Yeah. Oh.
Somebody else wants to do a deck profile too, maybe. What's next that we have?
So next is the Golden Harp. I'll be honest, after I don't really own too many cards, unfortunately, so I was really done with my testing for this deck back in June, and there was a recent technology posted on various forums of Golden Harp, and that immediately solved so many issues I had with my deck. I thought my deck was good, but I felt the ink versus unink count was very sketchy to support my Perditas. Perditas win so many games, but I felt sometimes getting that 5th ink was compromising. Do I need to ink Ariel? Do I need to ink a Shift, a Rapunzel? I felt I was so restrained from inking. But Harp allows me to have another card that I can ink, because this replaces flutes. If you quest 1 time with Harp, that is 2 activations of flute.
That's true.
If you quest multiple times with it, it is a better flute. And in the mid game, from turns 3 to 10, it's not very hard to play a song turn. It's just natural. You're not changing your lines of play to support this. You're not, I have a harp in play. I got to make sure I play song. No. Your line of play was going to include a song. So just
especially with the flutes.
Exactly, yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. So this has been amazing. And because it's inkable, one thing I suggest, because I do pride myself in deck building, if you want to take your next step in deck building, you need to understand the value of something being ink and uninkable. I view flute as not worthy this current format pre-Bucky nerf, because it was uninkable. It restrains your ink base. But I think next post-Bucky, I think flutes can come back, but Harp allows me to play uninkables like Perdita and support it, because yes, there might be games where you just go to 6 without any issues, but there's going to be games where it's very tight, where you chop deck that flute and I'm like, oh, I'm stuck at 5 ink. Like, I really believe in consistency, and Harp helped me tremendously. And I would have to I didn't have enough time to test this, so I got to thank the people who posted this online, because it just basically was the final missing piece for my deck.
Now you want to see this one more in the late game, if I'm mistaken.
Actually, turn 4 is, and so just to go a little quick. So turn 4, an excellent play is maybe you cast a song with Cindy or Ursula, then you play Lawrence and Harp. Not only do you probably use a song to get rid of the board, now they got to deal with 4 lore plus anything additional. These are very strong health bodies, and this is healed up instantly by Rapunzel. Like, these cards are really, like, this deck is very aggressive and has strong health, so you can revive, heal up with Rapunzel, withstand getting Gravity Sword and Tinkerbell. Like, Harp was amazing, but more often than not, I am inking it, and it is also another Perdita revive target.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. What else we got?
So Force Me is quite standard.
That is pretty standard, but it is still a big body. It kind of avoids the brawl.
Yes.
So I feel like he is still a very strong character.
Exactly. And the next card is Piglet. Just keep in mind the interaction. Piglet is a captain, so Smee does not get dealt any damage when it's exerted. So it is a very important interaction that you should keep in mind.
That is very interesting because I know a lot of times I'm just thinking that I need to play Captain Hook.
Yeah.
But you found a way around it by playing the Piglet.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, I like that.
And Piglet is often left alone. So most players may just clean up the board, but they'll leave Piglet because it's only gaining 1 lore. And later on in the deck profile, Perdita allows Piglet to gain 3 lore out of nowhere. So Piglet has been amazing. I did play 4 copies. I did shave down to 3 just because I believe Lawrence is a card that I should play 4 of. I played 4s. I just think in certain matchups, I'm inking a little more readily, like Emerald Steel, but this is necessary for control. If you're against Ruby Sapphire, Blue Steel, like this card will gain a lot of lore. You want to put a clock on them because eventually they're going to stabilize, but you'll find a way via Perdita or some of my other guys with higher health that could allow you to get that 5 or 6 lore that you're missing. So Piglet allows you to get to 12, 14 lore, 15 lore in the early game, and then you'll find a way through whole new worlds and everything to get that last few lore. So Piglet is very good.
Now you want to play Piglet in the early game, you were just saying. But I feel like you kept talking about Perdita. Perdita kind of, in my eyes, comes on the later game.
Yeah.
So it's like,
So I view Perdita, I know, so skipping towards the end.
I know we kind of revealed that little spicy tech.
I view Perdita as sort of like this deck's Merlin Goat. It gets lore out of nowhere or presents lore that will happen. Like, it is the only reason I ran this Steel Song. I question if I should even run Steel Song, but once I discovered the Perdita tech, it was like, I want to run Steel Song because this addresses all the bad matchups and is excellent in every matchup. I've never had it.
I can't wait till we get to that card because I definitely got to read it. I don't know if I remember it like that.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going.
So I do play 3 Ursulas, 1 fort. I do like the fort health on it. So
Big body.
Exactly. Big body, can be healed up. And it just helps with supporting like the harps, just giving a cast song. It acts like a more resilient Cinderella. And again, another valid target for Perdita. Sometimes, like when I play Perdita, they're going to play a bunch of board wipes. So again, I need something to survive and then just deal. It's just been I often do ink it. I prefer playing Smee over Ursula, for example, turn 2. But it's just definitely, there's some hands you don't draw your Smee. So this is a very good turn 2 play. I may play this over Piglet just because I know my opening hand doesn't support aggression. It's more, I was just dealt a hand that's more mid-range. So I'd rather play Ursula, get some value from Along Came Zeus and my other songs. So definitely Ursula was playing played a very good role throughout the whole weekend.
Awesome.
Next are the 3 bare necessities. People have argued, oh, why am I not running 4? I just felt 3 was the magic number. If you are interested in running this deck, and I do believe this is a valid choice for Toronto, I don't have a ticket, so I won't be playtesting or really updating this deck, but I do believe playing 4 is probably a good approach. And yeah, so definitely towards the end of deck tech, I may give suggestions on moving forward of how to modify this deck profile, but 3 bare necessities, hit that, be prepared. Especially since this deck is all about aggro, I like to play my bare necessities towards critical turns where, oh, I gotta worry about grab your sword, be prepared, or post whole new world, I play bare necessities, now I got the green light, oh, they have no out to this, so then, yeah.
So you're meaning like you're playing it like turn 4, or you're playing it turn maybe 6 to get rid of that like
exactly,
be prepared.
Exactly, or if I'm getting to control, like hit their Fishborn Quills, 1 jump ahead. I play it early just to get rid of those. Yeah. So,
kind of depends the matchup.
Exactly.
Like blues, you're playing it early, but like red, purple, maybe a little bit later.
Exactly. And this is why I believe Cindy should be a 4 of, because it allows me to turn 2, play this for free, and then I could play Smee, Piglet, something else. But while, like, if I elect to play Queen and stuff, I may want to activate this turn 2, but then I can't commit to the board. So that's where I'm very confused why this was questioned, but again, like I think because of the aggro approach, I just want to ensure that I have a lot of multiple plays I can do each turn as opposed to singular plays that maybe some of the other Steel Song decks are doing. They really do multiple songs, multiple cards in the mid game. In the early game, I want to be doing tons of actions.
So now, are you more concerned with locations or like the songs to get rid of for the bare necessities? Like, let's just say you have a Be Prepared and a castle in your hand. Who are you getting rid of?
If it's in the mid game, I'm hitting be prepared. So I've been asked many times on Facebook Messenger. I'm a friendly guy, by the way. So if you want to message me on Discord Messenger, I will gladly, after this profile, I'll answer questions. You know, you asked me a question, you took the time to say hello, I'll respond to you.
We're also definitely going to link his Discord too in the video as well.
But yeah, I've been told time and time again that Ruby Amethyst is like they ask how do I beat the matchup. I'm like, I really don't care about Castle. I just kill everything on board, either trading or using my song. So Castle simply just stays on the field as gain 2 lore each turn, and I'm like, that doesn't do anything. Be Prepared says wipe my board. Like that's why I really don't value the castles too much, because I just make sure their board is gone, and because Ruby Amethyst has shifted from set 3, where they're playing Rafikis and Cuscos and everything, more to playing one card at a time, like Sisu, Flynn. It's like, I just got to deal with a singular target, as opposed to going wide, where Castle I probably value a little more, because they're going to eventually find one little thing to go slip under, and then they're going to draw cards, and then I may lose control of the game. But the present deck builds is like, I don't really care about Castle.
You have like a lot of control.
Exactly.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah. Next, I play 4 Lawrences, and this is another reason why I don't really mind the Ruby Amethyst. I think it's a buy matchup, just because it is a 4/4. How do they deal with it? I could dump my hand to make that their turn 3 Sisu unable to address this card. It can get rid of locations. Emerald, any steel deck has an issue with Lawrence. Lawrence basically says I either trade something, use my whole card for the turn, a zoo, something to get rid of it, or it requires 2 actions. Maybe I'll tackle a little thing and then tackle my big guy so it survives. Maybe I play a song, and then like I know Lawrence forces my opponent to change whatever they're doing. Maybe they can't ramp this turn because they got to address Lawrence.
Yeah.
And this is where they're like, I'll be honest, I'm not a really good Steel Song player, in the sense is, this was my first time I ever ran Steel Song. I just know how to play Lorcana quite well. So there are times when I'm just questing with Robin Hood, baiting them into attacking Robin Hood. Then I'll swing with Lawrence, play Rapunzel, heal up. I just drew 3 cards. You're dealing with a 4/4 Lawrence, and you just got rid of my Robin Hood. Like, I'll gladly trade a 1-drop or something that seems threatening, or even like an Ariel. I quested with Ariel commonly throughout the whole tournament. When I played against Steel Song players, I rarely see Ariel being questing, unless it's in the mid game where they're controlling, they have multiple arrows. I'll quest actively with Ariel just to bait something where I can hit with Lawrence, heal up. Now the game, like, I really don't care that I can't play a turn 5. I can't cheat a whole new world. I really don't care. I have control. I have a 4/4 that gets 2 lore, and I have a Rapunzel on board. Lawrence is easily one of the best cards. Yeah, I know people are playing Benja, but Lawrence is just so hard to deal with. And if they don't deal with it, you give me the risk of, I could just heal up a Rapunzel, and then you got to deal with it. So you must dedicate multiple actions just to get rid of Lawrence.
Yeah, I know that I'm usually trying to get rid of the Ariel first, or making sure that like you're not shifting into Big Robin Hood. That's also kind of hard to deal with. So you have a lot of characters that you just can't deal with.
And because of that mindset a lot of players have, I bait them into, here's an Ariel, exerted. You want to get rid of it. Robin Hood, oh, I'm afraid of the shift. I want you to do that. And if you don't, I just gained a couple lore. Again, this is an aggro deck. I need to gain as many little lore as possible, because I will be able to win turn 10, turn 11. There might be points in the game where we're in constant parity, but I'll lose the quest thing because you have more guys on board, you have removal, maybe you stabilize. So I need to be able to gain as much lore as possible. So even if you have enough to threaten me game in a couple of turns, you have to be defensive, because I gained those 1 or 2 lores earlier on. Like, this deck really demands that you know when to bait your opponent to gain 1 or 2 lore to set up traps. So like, I honestly, like, after this weekend, I may want to have Steel Song as my main deck, because I feel like it really showcased my natural talents to Lorcana. And it's just like, again, I don't really know how to. This is my first time I ever played Steel Song. Like, I only played 6 games of Steel Song, just holding it Friday evening, and then I just rolled with it, and I just felt like it was just like
natural. Yeah,
it's just like, okay, like I could do this, I could do that. Like it was just I loved this deck so much. So yeah, Lawrence, again, another MVP. I think maybe for Toronto, maybe considering cutting one for Benja if we're in test with items coming back. But yeah.
I feel like it just flows really nicely.
Exactly.
You created a great deck that just like the synergy. That's the word I was looking for. The synergy.
And then for Ariel.
That's very common.
Yep.
Your bigger singer.
Yeah. For Let the Storm Rage On, I'm pretty sure that's a standard. I know some lists play 3, but I don't get it. Yeah,
how many Uninkables do you play? Do you know?
Offhand, that's a good question. You probably have to look at my list. Like that's why I feel a little ashamed that like I did so well because I'm like I know how to play the game. I just like if you're asking me if I played Ariel on turn 6, I don't know the statistics of like I have a 20% chance because I have all these songs. Like I know how to play the game. Like when I play decks, I try to really know if I have 30 cards left, I have a 12% chance. So I could really incorporate my lines of play. But in this deck, I wasn't even at that level. I was just really thinking like 6, 7 different lines of play. But it's more about inking how to set up my opponents to traps. So, but yeah,
you're like big on baiting.
Exactly. Yes. So, yep. But yeah, for these, for Let the Storm Rage On, I think.
And especially if you're going wide, that's a really good card to play because it depends on how many characters you have on the board.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, my approach is always to go wide. One, World's Greatest Criminal Mind.
Did you find yourself using it at all?
I didn't, but mainly because I didn't play against Big Cindy. I didn't really see Big Cindy at all. I didn't play against any Ruby Sapphire, so no Tamatoa. I think I think teching 1 is good. Worst case scenario is inkable, but I do know people when I played Big Cindy in the mirror match, they didn't have access to this and they lost the game. Like they may have had control. I played Big Cindy and they're like, can't deal with it. So I think teching 1 is just a good choice, especially if people are going to be net decking this for Toronto. I would definitely keep it because Big Cindy is a problem.
How long would you keep that in your hand before you ink it? Like just preparing for like let's just say like a Tamatoa or a Big Cinderella or like the Big Zizu. Like would you keep it in your hand for long or just then figure it out?
I would ink it right away. I'm looking towards the mid game, getting it from Ariel or getting it from a whole new world. Like then I'll keep it, but early on, if there's a difference between inking like a Shift Robin Hood and this, I'm inking this, or even a Piglet, like I'm inking this. Like
that's gonna ink.
Yes, and yeah, exactly. Or even like and play 4 Rapunzels, pretty standard. One thing I'll again, it goes back to like I play Steel Song I think far differently. I hard cast Rapunzel without healing several times because I recognize in my board state that I'm presently at 8 lore. My opponent doesn't really have war control. If I play Rapunzel for free, just hard cast without healing, I can be at 13 lore, and then in 3 turns, I can present a clock that they cannot deal with. So I'm very flexible about just hard casting Rapunzel anytime without healing. Of course, the goal is you want to heal up, draw 3 cards, but Rapunzel has 5 health and gains 2 lore. So I think players, like just observing from afar, that they're very reluctant just hard casting Rapunzel without getting some value or at least getting a draw. For me, I hard cast this so many times throughout this tournament. Again, I come open-minded playing Steel Song. I don't have any previous like this is the line of players this is the first time I played in a tournament, and I go with the flow with the game. That's why I really don't like keys to the matchup, mulligans. Go with the flow. Understand how your opponent's playing. What is the current board state? Are you in control? Are you the aggressor? Do you need to go wide? What is the lore count? How much ink? I'm thinking about all these things and what the board is going to be in the next turn and the following turn. I'm thinking of, okay, I'm at 8 lore. I could probably be at 15 lore in 2 turns. I'm thinking of all these lines of play and not really, hey, Steel Song always does this combo. So that's how I approach this deck.
Nope. Did you find yourself needing more cards? Like your hand was not full enough?
No, I didn't really find it just because like a whole new world really replenishes, and definitely because I do have a higher ink count versus uninkable compared to other players. I definitely never really had an issue of like, oh, I need to have a draw. I need to hit these like. I believe my deck list is very sound that I never afford because that's one thing I felt when I first started testing Steel Song because I did the typical try the Pride lands, try the Queens and everything. I felt I need to draw. I really need that whole new world to replenish. But with my build, I'm like, I don't mind playing at 3 ink because I can control the board. I have the songs, I have Lawrence. Like Sometimes I'll skip inking a couple turns. Like I have Rapunzel, I could go to 4, but I'm like, no, I'm okay. I rather wait for something because like there's sometimes I just go so wide, I gain so much pressure, and I have the songs to sort of keep my opponent's board at bay that I'll just forego inking a few turns. So yeah, it's just,
you found 3 ink was enough for you?
at some like it depends on the hand, depends on my board state, depends on my opponent's like it. Yeah, I was on the play, but yeah, there's sometimes I can operate just simply on 3 ink. So yeah, again, I just
That's awesome. Because it's also like with your cards, you can sing a lot of cards. So
Yeah.
as long as you have the correct hits or you're shifting, like those shifts. You didn't play the queen at all.
yes,
Baby or big.
yes, I did play it. I'm sorry, I did play test it back in June, and I thought it wasn't good at all. Reason being is on the play, yes, it is great. You play it, shift on turn 2, sing a whole new world, yes. But in Lorcana, I really want something consistent. On the draw, it is a very weak play. Even casting, like once you exert it, it's a 4/3. It's very easy to deal with, and once it gets banished, you just lost 2 resources. Also, I did an aggro approach, so for me, a stronger play is turn 1 Cindy or turn 1 Robin Hood, turn 2 Smee. To me, that's a better play than shift, turn 2, play a whole new world. It's just maybe I don't do the mid range where Queen is a little better. I'm more about the aggression. So for me, the Queen doesn't provide any of that. I only like the Queen when I was really playing more copies of the world's greatest criminal mind because I could just pump their guy, banish it, but. It wasn't good at all. And I think there were some people who played the harp version who were against the Queen, and I think it was like people were noticing that on the play, perfect. On the draw, probably not something you want to see.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Then 2 along came Zeus. I know players play 3. I just find 2 to be the magic number. For myself, I personally wasn't a big fan of Zeus before this tournament. I was actually on 1 Zeus. I'm really against anything that's uninkable unless it provides something tremendous and unique. But then eventually, with the harps really smoothing out my ink versus uninkable separation, that I felt, okay, I could add a Zeus. I don't feel that my ink base is getting strained. Because I felt when I ran multiple copies, there'd be times where you were asking, oh, you didn't have enough draw, or I felt like, it's because of the inkable versus the uninkable, but the harp smoothed the deck out so much because I always had something to ink.
Awesome.
For Robin Hood, very basic.
How many times did you find yourself shifting?
It really, on turn 3, it really depends. Maybe 50-50 with the Ariel or even the Lawrence. I like to go wide, so... It really depends. And sometimes, even though I had the Robin Hood shift, I may just swing with Robin Hood, again, just to bait that whole Lawrence attack, just to draw. Like, I just find I could just hard cast this for 5. Like I don't, like, for me, like...
You didn't need the shift.
I just want to go wide and present a large board state. Like, again, this is the aggro version. Maybe the mid-range, they want to be more playing singular cards. But I also not a big fan of the mid-range because... Bucky's in the format. Like, how are you going to out mid-range Bucky where it's going to get internal value? Or control decks with Lucky Dime, you give them the time and opportunity to start playing Tamatoa, get their dime, gaining lore. I need to present a quick clock, and then so that's why I did the aggro approach. I just feel that the aggro approach is the best approach to Steel Song, but again, players have had some success, and
That's awesome.
4 whole new worlds, very standard. I guess when I first approached this deck, I actually did try not playing any of them.
Okay.
And I played 4 Look at This Family. The idea was, again, the uninkable was kind of straining, and also I felt at times that a whole new world just helped my opponent, especially I was testing more when the Ruby Sapphire and Blue Steel was very prominent in the format, where I felt like I'm just giving them a full hand after they ramp, and then they just wipe my board out. But as I developed more aggro and I just really refined the deck list, of course, 4 whole new worlds is really good. But there was a point where I was on 3 and 1 Look at This Family. But after, again, the harp, I really am grateful.
Synergy with the harp.
Yeah, that and it's another inkable target because when I play the flutes, it's the ink base. It becomes a very I felt Steel Song was it was inconsistent because flutes and the songs like I can't ink, but the harps really dramatically change how the deck flows.
So now, when are you whole new worlding?
So
like ideally.
I like to hold new world. So in the Ruby Amethyst matchup, I like to to approach the matchup, I destroy everything, including Rabbit. I will Zeus a Rabbit. I will do whatever. So I'm constantly making my Ruby Amethyst players have 5-6 cards. I will whole new world them just for like, okay, I maybe have 3 cards in hand, but now I'm gonna have 7 cards. Like they're having so many cards, like let me just like they're only drawing 1 additional card while I'm drawing 4. So there are times like that.
So you're kind of like evening out the handheld a little bit.
Exactly.
Like, oh, they have a lot of resources. I don't have that many resources. Let me try to even it out so that I can get on top.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Ooh, it's a very interesting take.
Or when I'm going wide, I'm expending my whole hand. So yeah, whole new world. Like often I'm just how I played is like just throwing out my hand. I'm often on 1 or 2 cards, so definitely a whole new world definitely replenishes that. And then definitely in the mid and late game when I know the star to show Perdita or even Shift Cindy can close out the game, like I'm looking for those actively. So yeah, whole new world again, one of the reasons to play the deck. So yeah, and I play 1 Grab Your Sword. Did I miss more copies? No, and I played from top 64 to top 4 only Emerald Steel. It was the only.
Wow.
So so I know people have been saying like they try my list and they're like, oh, I don't know how you beat Emerald Steel. And I'm like, no, I beat a lot, and even the Swiss. That's where I really hate saying the mulligan guides, keys to the matchup. You really need to understand the flow, how to ink. Like, I really need to review your games or tell you, hey, you should be doing this. Like, Grab Your Sword. If it's a really good Emerald Steel player, they're not going to fall to Grab Your Sword. They're going to put things under Hidden Cove, so it's not really going to do anything. You have to get them early on when they have a Bucky and Diablo, but most players, especially at that top 64 level, they're not really going to fall to Grab Your Sword. Yes, it did win me some games. I cast it like, yes, but I really did miss more copies. I think the list did fine. And Grab Your Sword is really only good against Emerald Steel. And if this deck rises in popularity, yes, this is a very good card against my deck. But Ruby Amethyst, not that good. Blue Steel, not that good. So it's just like, if I run 2 copies, again, it's uninkable. It really strains my base. And I just feel like there's other ways I can win against Emerald Steel that I don't require to.
And just so everybody knows, Emerald Steel was the majority in Top Cut. There was, I think, about 50% were Emerald Steel players.
Correct. Exactly.
So the fact that he faced all Emerald Steel is not surprising, but 1 Grab Your Swords is, because that could have definitely possibly helped you more or clogged up your hand. Yeah. So like he found what was perfect for the synergy of his hand.
Yeah. Yes, and then finally, the only reason I ran Steel Song.
Here's Perdita. The spice.
Perdita. So that's 6 health.
Very strong.
Most decks cannot deal with this. And I also, this just is eternal value. Like, I play this, I revive Smee, Piglet, Cinderella. I sometimes revive Cinderella as another character to sing, but I also threaten Shift next turn.
What does it say again?
Oh, sorry. So since it's not commonly played, when you play this character and whenever she quests, you may play a character with cost 2 or less from your discard for free.
Ooh.
So basically, let's see. If I revive Smee, now I have 4 lore right here, assuming I have no board. And then if I quest, I'm going to be reviving way more. So it just gets out of hand really quickly. And they must deal with this. If they do not deal with this, they lose the game. And they're like, when I play the mirror match, I play this, they cannot deal with it. And then they had control. This card swings matchups. Post Be Prepared. How do they deal with it? They must have another Be Prepared. And also have Bare Necessities. If they Medusa, I already got value right here.
That's true.
This card, again, is the only reason I ran Steel Song. Like, once I found it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to rock this out. Because I felt before, it's just like, I'm really bound to what I draw, and I have no reach. I view this as Merlin Goat for Amber Steel, that it allows you to gain lore out of nowhere. It gives you reach. you're at 14 lore. Like I mentioned, you need to learn with this deck how to gain incremental lore because this card will bring out 4 lore out of nowhere. Often players will even leave Piglet. Let's say they clear my whole board. Piglet's just 1 lore. I play Perdita. I play this. I just gained 3 lore, and now I have 7 lore on the board. You have to deal with the board state. This was a very common play I did in my play testing and over the weekend. That they think they're safe. That worst case scenario, I would just play maybe a Robin Hood and this, and then quest for 3. Like no. I play Perdita, get this, gain 3 lore. You must address this because I'm just going to gain more lore. But this is the true problem. Perdita.
And this person can bring back the Piglet.
Exactly.
So it's like a constant like. I don't even know the word I'm looking for.
Eternal value.
Yeah, like, eternal value.
And it's just, so again, Perdita, I think is, like, I'm very confused, like, after, like, again, I came with Steel Song, never playing it before set 4, and I'm like, why was this never used before? This seems just so good. And because I've always heard Blue Steel's a bad matchup, Blue-Red, all these decks are bad matchups. I'm like, this is the answer to all your bad matchups. And it's amazing. In any Steel deck, it's amazing. Emerald Steel won me so many matches. She helped me many of my top 64, the top cut matches. Like without this, I would have never topped. And there's there were turns in the game where, let's say I tell you, if you Steel Song players, you're gonna draw a card. Choose any card in the whole you discard that card. Look at the whole entire Amber Steel catalog. Choose any card you could replace that card with. 99.9% of you will choose Perdita. Like, this is a situation where Perdita will switch the game's flow. Mm-hmm. You are no longer on the defensive. Now you're on the offensive. Perdita won me so many games. And I gave my list to a number of Yu-Gi-Oh! Pros and some Lorcana players because I didn't own the cards. Hey, just test on maybe having a Sword Championship. They all said, yeah, Perdita's the MVP. Like, this is ridiculously good. So much value. Like, it wins games out of nowhere. So, yeah, I had a lot of players play test on my behalf, and everyone was just obsessed with Perdita. And because I'm saying so much about Perdita, why don't I play 3 or 4? I did play 3. I even played 4 at one time. It's just, again, it's just inconsistent. Uninkable. And then because of the whole new world, we'll draw into it. Rapunzel, we'll draw into it. There's sometimes I will opt not to play Whole New World because I know I want to play my Perdita, then I'll cast a Whole New World. So there's some times where I will sequence my plays to play Perdita. And then there's sometimes I will ink aggressively if I have, like, maybe I won't cast Rapunzel. I'm at 4 ink. I may ink instead of playing it and have no turn 5 play because on turn 6 I'll be able to play Perdita. And if I have Perdita in my hand and I'm like really like tight on ink, I may forego some plays because I know if I cast Perdita, I'm gonna get all that advantage back. So definitely, yeah.
Now, did you find Perdita every single game you played?
No, some games like she's just not relevant because I just out aggro them. Mm-hmm. So she's not like I must play every turn, but I mean every game. But when she does come out, all she knows is to win. Like she helped the Atlanta winner. That person ran Perdita. So it seems like this dog just knows how to win. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, basically.
I'm actually doing like a little survey on like the Mount Rushmore of Lorcana, and nobody has suggested Perdita yet.
I think it should. Perdita is just constantly. No one really plays it, and then when it does get played, it just wins. So yeah, definitely.
Love it.
Yeah. And then finally are the 2-shift Cindy's. I know lists don't play it. It gives value to my turn 1 Cindy. So turn 5 now I have a major threat. Against Emerald Steel, this was an all-star, getting rid of Bucky's, getting rid of Beasts. So I found Cindy amazing. And again, most decks don't really have an out for it. I'm not too sure why decks don't run Cindy Shift, but.
Exactly. Okay, do you have any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, so I definitely want to shout out the Arizona Lorcana community. I travel for a living. I am an engineer, so I don't really play much in real life just because I'm constantly in the field. And there was a nice gentleman, Mark, who was with his son. I went there to trade. I was done with a business trip, and I didn't play because I missed a tournament, but he wanted to give me like $200 worth of Steel Song cards because I didn't own any cards, Whole New World, for free. And I'm like,
that's amazing.
I'm like, no. I have a binder of promos. Like, I have a lot of like high-end cards, like promos and stuff. And I'm like, no. and he kept insisting, and I'm like, he gave it to me, and then I put in a lot of promos worth that much, and it's just like the Lorcana community has been amazing. Like
it's a beautiful community. Yeah. I love being a part of it.
And just a little side note, I used to be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic player. I quit from 2010 to 2019. I was an amateur boxer. I trained with a lot of pro boxers and MMA fighters in UFC. So I have a lot of combat experience. And when I played Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh!, there were some knuckleheads that I'm like, you're testing my patience. But the Lorcana community, you guys have been warm, welcoming. Like, I haven't had anywhere like, I got it. My head to say I'm a boxer, but no, but it's just like everybody has been like so engaging. Like, I really enjoy coming to playing this game. Like, everybody's been warm, welcoming, and I got to give a big shout out to the New York team, New York Lorcana community. Like, throughout the weekend, you're cheering me on, just like play testing. You guys spent time. Sometimes, and some of them gave me comments like, I literally didn't have this deck until Friday evening. Like, these guys didn't have to spend time with me. Like, I wouldn't have topped without a collective effort. I would like to shout out my top 64 opponent, Jody. She was the only female in the top 64 cut, and it was her first major. This is her first TCG and first major event. And the top 64 cut, everyone was tense. Like, they were like very, like, everybody's focused, like, or they're like a little like maybe like they have a very competitive mindset. They want to win. Jody was very casual, so we were just joking, laughing at like everybody else was like studying deck lists, so like angry. I'm like, we were just laughing, joking, smiling,
having a good time.
Exactly. So once we played, like, we both were like, we didn't have the edge of like wanting to like play perfectly. We just had a clear mindset, so we could play perfectly. So I really think like, and I carried that mindset throughout the whole top. I wasn't really stressed at all. Like, I made a misplay in my top 54. I mean, top 4 match, costing me the match, but it happens. But like,
you learn from it, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. So like she really helped me have a clear mindset throughout the whole. So I had to give her a shout out because and I'll also be seeing her in Vegas. She's a great player and a great ambassador for the game. My top 16 match, I had to also shout him out. I just let me see. Sorry if I can see his name. Eric Martin. Sorry, we've been like messaging back and forth, but he has like 2 first names, so I don't want to like say Martin and So Eric Martin, guys, shout him out as well. Like, I played other games at a very high level, had feature matches, deck profiles. He was one of the few matches of all time that I felt like, aside from, I didn't even feel the pressure of playing the Mickey. It was more like, he's a good player. It was back and forth. Our game 3 was epic. I just felt like I was so grateful. Even if I lost, I would have been like, thank you for playing me.
Eric, he played Green Steel.
Yes. And then my top 4 match, I also thank that guy. Like, our game 1 was back and forth, amazing. And I just like, again, I may have lost top 4, but like, I just appreciate a good match where you challenged me to my absolute limit. Like, that's what I love about boxing. I know, going back to boxing again, like, I was challenged mentally, physically, like my conditioning. And when I lost or won, I always thank my opponent for the experience. And I felt with other card games, I would sometimes didn't feel that same way because there is some luck aspect, but the Lorcana has so much depth and the players are so good at this game that I'm like, I'm thankful for the opportunity. Win or loss, I'm very grateful. And then finally, I got to shout out my wife, Jen, and Piggy. I travel a lot for a living. It's very hard for them. And I'm just grateful that they just, gave me good vibes, or just also just, they're supporting my journey as Lorcana, like playing Lorcana, because unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to play test. I spend my weekends with her as opposed to playing. So she's going to be a little more supportive of me playing a little more. So hopefully I can win North American Championships, qualify for Worlds. I want to play. I feel like my my deck building as well as my skill sets do lead me the way that I can become successful in the game. So I really have to thank my wife for being supportive on this journey. So yeah, and she will be joining me in Vegas, not as a player. She doesn't play any games at all, but she just wants to be there just to enjoy this time with me. So yeah, I got.
Maybe we can get her to play eventually.
I know, yeah. Might be tricky, but yeah.
But it sounds like you have a great support system. That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
And then just a final thing. If you are trying to play this in Toronto, I believe the 60 is optimal. You can argue that maybe Benja may come in if you want to. If you feel Ruby Sapphire is a major part, maybe cutting one Lawrence. I am not really going to test too much for Toronto because I don't have a ticket, so I'll let you guys figure out. But this is definitely a great starting point. And if you ran to 60 in Toronto, I wouldn't even blame you. I do believe this list is quite optimal. And I am a game designer for my own indie card game I'm trying to release in 2 or 3 years called Battle for Justice, TCG.
Ooh.
So I'm hoping that as I gain more success, maybe you guys just like how I deck build or approach the game, you will love my game. It is a positional-based card game where it's not about the deck, it's more about how you move your
play the deck,
play the deck, manage your resources. So yeah, I hope that as I continue to rise in Lorcana, that hey, if he plays Lorcana well, I really want to play his game because I really want to create a game that the masses will enjoy and feel like one of one. It does not feel like a Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Lorcana clone. It is its own game. So, and yep, see me at New York Comic Con, MacFest 2025, Origins.
Vegas?
Yeah, yes. Oh, sorry, to demo my game, I go to all these conventions: PAX Unplugged, New York Comic Con, MacFest 2025, Origins. I won't be in Gen Con this year demoing, but yes, but I will be at Vegas playing Lorcana, and I may bring my game in case you want to play test. I'm always open to demoing, Anyway.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned because we're going to be having our locals in just a little bit. Thank you.
Bye.